Alright guys, it's Anish back here again with another video, and before I get into this video, I want to let you guys know that this entire video is being recorded on the Canon EOS R5. So if you guys have watched my previous video, you guys will know what I'm talking about, but if you guys haven't watched my previous video, make sure you go check it out. Link up there in the info card or down in the description. Just check both. But as you guys can see right here, we have a very special product which I'm super excited to talk to you guys. Because as you guys can tell, right here we have the beautiful Dell just sitting right here for no apparent reason. I'm just kidding. But guys, this video is also for a lot of creatives. So for those creatives that, really want a great laptop, especially for photo editing, video editing, maybe even like graphic design, animation, stuff like that. If you want a very high-end powerful PC, and maybe, you've kind of looked at the macOS realm, but maybe you're more Windows, or maybe you have tried macOS and you just don't like it, then this is pretty much like the equivalent to a MacBook, but as a Windows. And it's also a bit cheaper too, so that's also a big benefit as well. Alrighty guys, so right now I'm going to get into the unboxing of this box. Wait. Okay. Alright, so within that box here is the Dell packaging, and honestly this is probably like the most bougiest box I've ever gotten my own laptop in, because all of my other laptops, like, they pretty much just come in that cardboard box and that's all you get. But this one is a bit more classier, more luxurious. Obviously this laptop again is not super cheap, so if you guys are willing to pay the price for this thing, trust me, it's definitely worth it in the long run. But yeah, a little bit of a warning, not a super cheap laptop. It's a magnetic lid. That's super cool. So once we open up that magnetic lid, let's see what we get inside the box. Wait, what? There's nothing inside because I already have taken it out. But if you guys can see right here, if you guys don't know exactly which laptop I'm talking about, here it is. It says right here, if the thing can focus, but it says XPS. So for those who do know Dell usually releases like the Dell XPS 13, XPS 15, but this year in 2020, they finally created a much more powerful laptop with a much bigger screen within a body that's like a 15-inch laptop. And the laptop that I'm talking about is right here. So right here, as you guys can see, this is the Dell XPS 17. So the whole reason why I already did the unboxing was pretty much so that I can give you guys a full-on review on the Dell XPS 17, since I have been using this laptop for almost the past 2 to 3 weeks. And I have to be honest with you guys, I absolutely love this laptop. Like, out of every single laptop that I've owned in the past, like, by far, this is probably like my favorite laptop I've ever owned. So before I get into how the laptop looks on the inside, let's first talk about the inside. So within this laptop, we're getting the latest and greatest Intel 10th generation i7. It has 8 cores, so it is a very fast CPU. Also with that, originally this laptop did have 16 gigs of RAM, but I did upgrade that to 64 gigs of RAM, so it's definitely a lot faster, especially, with memory and more tabs and all that type of stuff. Inside right now is a 512 gig SSD. In the future, I do plan on adding a 2 terabyte SSD. I believe that the battery is a 97 watt hour, so it is a very powerful battery. The reason why this thing is a huge beast is because of the graphic card that is inside of it. This is the NVIDIA RTX 2060 Max-Q design. So pretty much it honestly has the exact same graphic card that is within my PC, which is the RTX 2060. Alrighty guys, so now that we got the specs out of the way on the laptop, it's time for me to open it up and show you guys what this puppy looks like. So it does use a very nice IPS display. This is a 4K panel. I believe it's UHD, so Ultra HD. And this thing is extremely color accurate. So if you guys are doing a lot of photo and video work, and you guys want to make sure that you do have a color accurate display, 100% recommend you guys to be getting the 4K panel. Alrighty guys, so now that I showed you what this laptop looks like, it's time for me to go through my review for the Dell XPS 17. So I do have a few cons with this laptop, especially when I originally got it, but there are a massive ton of pros that I do have with the XPS 17. So one of the biggest cons that I really had with this laptop when I first got it was that, especially in Adobe Premiere Pro, when you are working with playing back your footage, there's actually a lot of screen tearing within the playback image. So you guys want to make sure that you do have FreeSync enabled on your laptop, and once I had that enabled, this laptop worked perfectly fine. especially in Adobe Premiere Pro. I had no more screen tearing in Premiere Pro, and honestly, it just worked like a charm. So one of the other cons is actually the speakers. Now, a lot of people that do have the XPS 15 and the XPS 17 have noticed that the speakers aren't that great, but especially if you are comparing the quality to a MacBook speaker, definitely MacBook wins it by far. So if you guys are going to be doing a lot of audio playback through the computer itself, then I'd probably recommend you guys to get like a MacBook or something. But if you guys are probably going to just be using headphones, or if you guys don't mind the speaker quality from the XPS 17, then this should be perfectly fine. The only, one of the biggest reasons why is because especially in the lower tones, like the bass and the low tones, it's not really that great, but especially in the mids and highs, it does a fantabulous job. So if you guys do work a lot with the mids and highs, these speakers should be good enough for you. And probably one of the last cons with this laptop, which honestly isn't really appealing to me, but maybe some people might want that information, is that the webcam on this guy, not only is it super small, but it's only a 720p webcam. So obviously the quality that you're gonna get off of this is not that great. A lot of people would expect hopefully to get like a 1080p camera or something like that, but 720p. And again, for me, that doesn't really matter because I don't do a whole lot of like conference calls, and I don't need like a super high-end like webcam on my laptop. So it doesn't really matter for me. Alright guys, so now that we got all of the cons out of the way, let's talk about the pros, because there is a lot of pros about this guy. For once, especially once this thing is plugged in, this thing turns into an absolute beast, as I have said before. Like literally working with 1080p footage and some 4K footage on Premiere Pro without even transcoding them literally runs super smoothly. Like I can literally drag the timeline to whoever I want, automatically just press the space button to play the footage, and it plays with like zero issues whatsoever. So that's one thing that I truly do love about it. Again, another pro is this screen. Again, if you're doing a lot of photo, video, color grading work, definitely this is a monitor that you'll for sure be satisfied. You can also do like just regular calibrating. If you have like a Spider X, you can just put it onto the screen, and also you can calibrate it as well if you're not 100% satisfied. But for me, this laptop works perfectly fine, so I don't have any issues with that. Again, even with 512 gig of storage, this thing is still super powerful. Even though I have like a ton of apps downloaded, pretty much all the high intensive Adobe apps, I pretty much have it downloaded, like Lightroom Classic, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, After Effects, have all of those things downloaded. And also a lot of people were questioning the battery life on the XPS 17, and I gotta be honest, the battery life isn't actually as bad as a lot of people say. Especially if you are just doing very minimal work, like you're going on Microsoft Word, going to Google, watching some YouTube videos, things like that, where it's not extremely intensive. This thing will pretty much last you almost like 5 to 6 hours. Now if you guys are going to be doing like stuff on Premiere Pro, Lightroom, Photoshop, things like that, where it's a bit more intensive, then it's probably going to run you about like 3 to 4 hours. So honestly, 4 hours of battery life, yeah, I mean for the most part it's not like the best, but I mean you are using a very high intensive app, so 4 hours even just to use like all of those apps like to the max capability, like it's still pretty good for what it is. Now also one big benefit, especially both to the XPS 15 and the 17, is also the trackpad. So the trackpad has become so much bigger. It's like, I think it's almost the same size as like the MacBook trackpad, since those things are massive. But this thing is definitely a lot closer to something like what a MacBook does have. And for me, especially when I am using this trackpad, it's again super easy to use it, especially in the early production models of both the XPS 15 and 17. A lot of people did have issues with the trackpad. However, I purchased mine like I think early to mid-July. So I believe within that time they actually did fix the issue with the trackpads, and I believe they sent me one that doesn't have any issues. And for me, I haven't found any issues with it, and I'm super satisfied with it. And now probably one of the last pros that I do have about the 17 is honestly just the body. The body is honestly so stunning to me because you are getting so much screen, since it is in a 16:10 aspect ratio, since most laptops are more in a 16:9, which is like, the most average like screen aspect ratio that you're getting. But this one is a little bit taller, so you're getting a lot more screen here on the bottom, which is super nice. But one of the most like craziest things to me is that literally the 17-inch display within this entire body is literally roughly the size as most 15-inch laptops, if not smaller. than a 15-inch laptop, which is absolutely crazy to me. Alrighty guys, and besides all of those pros and cons, that is pretty much my honest review on the Dell XPS 17. If you guys have any more questions about the Dell XPS 17, definitely leave them in the comments. I'm always replying to almost every single comment that's out there. So if you guys do have any questions, maybe more about like the battery life, the screen, things like that, just let me know down in the description. But I think I pretty much got all this stuff covered for those who are wondering. Now for those who are wondering about the price, now I think probably like the last bit of information that I should talk about is definitely the price. So again, for this laptop, it is definitely not cheap, but it is cheaper than a MacBook. So if you guys are debating between whether or not you want to get the Dell XPS or the MacBook, whichever one it is, like the MacBook Pro 16-inch, if you guys are worried about price, this thing is not only just as powerful as a MacBook, if not powerful, because you can always upgrade it, but it also is quite a bit cheaper. So I'd say about $500 to maybe even $800 cheaper than the MacBook. So if money is a big thing to you, then for sure I'd highly recommend going with the Dell XPS. This specific model that I got, especially with all the specs, costed me, I believe, roughly around $2,500. So again, it is a pricey laptop, but if you guys are looking for a very slim and portable laptop, especially that's powerful enough to run like pretty much most games and also apps such as Adobe and AutoCAD, honestly, I gotta be honest, this is definitely gonna be the laptop for you. Again, there's so many other laptops out there like the Razer Blades and Alienware laptops, but again, Alienware laptops are usually pretty big, and also Razer Blade, you know, they do make really good products. However, sometimes the build structure isn't as good as like an XPS device. So again, if I had to choose any laptop, especially within the Windows realm for video and photo editing, for sure it's going to be the Dell XPS 17. So that is going to do it for us on this video, and if you guys have any more questions about the Dell XPS 17, definitely leave them down in the comments below, because I'm always super interested to see what you guys have to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.